Välkommen allesammen! We left off on our last episode where Jarl Håkon was killed and Olaf Tryggvason had taken the throne of Norway, and the people were temporarily happy to get rid of Jarl Håkon and have a new king, Olav, who was a descendant of Harald Fairhair. Little did they know that accepting Olav as king was the biggest mistake the people of Norway would ever make in their history. See, Olav's goal was to take away religious freedom in whatever means necessary. He had already gained the support of the Orkney chieftains, not by anything logical, but he gained their support by threats of violence and taking their sons as hostages. So the Orkney Islands were all baptized, and they were the Norse-controlled Scottish Isles, and they were now on his side. Then once Olav got to Norway and Håkon was killed, he proceeded to do more evil things to gain control. After Håkon was killed, Olav was named king. There was a feast in Trondheim, which was by far the most powerful area of Norway. Olav quickly urged them all to be baptized, but he saw that he was unable to convince them with threats of violence because these were the Trønders, these were the people of Trondheim. Olav stood no chance against them. This was the strongest area in Norway. So what came next was the most evil but genius rise to power and tyranny of the age, and I'm sharing you that whole journey here, where Olav converted the whole country of people who would rather die than give up their ancient religion. This is how he did it. First, very smartly, Olav went to convert the people who were closest to him, the people of Viken, kind of around the Oslofjord area. These were his friends, family, kin. These chieftains, they were the easiest to convince to become Christians, so they all were baptized with no resistance, and they just added the first bulk to Olav's army. Next, he went south to Agder. The people there didn't really want to be Christian, but they weren't the bravest or the most formidable fighting force, so reluctantly they agreed to be baptized at the site of Olav's growing army. So now Olav's army had grown even bigger. Next, Olav continued on to Rogaland and Hordaland. Now these guys here actually had some balls, and they were very pagan, and they had prepared a big army that could challenge Olav. They even prepared a speech at a thing like the annual meetings, and that the best spokesman there in the lands would go to Olav and tell him why they weren't going to convert to Christianity. They held a great thing while both armies were fully weaponed, and the three greatest speakers in the whole lands came forth against Olav and said that they would not be forced to abandon their old pagan ways. There were three men who spoke. The problem is, they absolutely choked. The story goes that they were so nervous that the only thing that could come out of their mouths were coughs, stammering, burps, and stuttering, like hoarse sounds that they couldn't get out a word. I don't think it's because they were nervous or scared. It's because no one understands what the hell they were saying, just like today. So, needless to say, nobody made a verbal challenge, so Rogaland and Hordaland converted to Christianity too, and Olav's army grew even bigger. Next, Olav kept going further north with his continually growing army. It was time for the people of Sogn or Fjordane and South Møre and the Romdalers, as they were called back then. Now these people were very strong and very, very pagan. This is where the main temples of the country had always been at the time. But Olav's army was too large for them to stand up to now. They were forced to be baptized as well, and all of their temples were burned, statues of their gods destroyed. But when the people of North Møre had heard of this, they raised an army to fight Olav, and they were very strong, and Olav, even with most of Norway behind him, got scared and fled back south. Olav still didn't want to fight a fair battle, so he had to build a bigger army. He went back and converted the people of Ringerike, and even tried to recruit the Swedes by trying to marry their Queen Sigrid unsuccessfully. Then the next summer, Olav finally thought that he had enough power to go north. He sailed to Lade and Trondheim in hopes of converting the people there. Now, you do not mess with the Trønders. You do not mess with the people of Trondheim and Lade. Olav came to Trondheim with all of Norway's armies pretty much trying to convert the people of Lade and Trondheim, and when Olav saw how mad they all got and how big their force was, he goes, no, wait, hold on, I was just kidding, I want to be friends again, I don't want to fight you. Why don't you guys show me how you do your pagan sacrifices? You killed pagans, and now when you are outmatched, you want to join our sacrifice. Oh, okay. They said all right, stupidly. So they agreed to meet in the summer at Lade for a sacrifice. The chieftains came there, but Olav had a last-minute change of plans. He now made demands of who should be sacrificed, not animals, slaves, or criminals, but the 5 most honorable men of Lade. So Olav's soldiers ruined the ceremony, and they captured the 5 most powerful men and forced them to convert or be killed. And yet again, they took their sons hostage to ensure their obedience going forward. But this was just Lade. We still have Trondheim. Olav again went to Trondheim with all his forces, all of Norway against little Trondheim, and the Trønders still said no, we will not be Christian, and Olav was still not willing to fight them. That's how strong they were. He said, okay, you can be pagan, but would you mind showing me your pagan temple? I'd like to learn, I'd like to see, he says. And the Trønders willingly said yes. They take him to their best temple of Thor, and Olav and his men last minute take out their axes, chop down all the statues, burn the temple, and kill Skeggi, the leader of all the Jarls of Trondheim. And without a leader to unite them, now all of Trondheim was forced to be baptized. See, this is the weakness of the Trønders. They were by far the strongest of all Norway, but they were a very friendly and trusting people, and that was their downfall. Guys, I hope you see the parallels to today. I hope you see the parallels to any time in history. When a smaller minority wants power, they divide and conquer. They go after the weakest ones first, that are the easiest to convert and change their beliefs. Then slowly, one more strong and stubborn ones of a nation's going gradually, eventually, the minority becomes a majority, and the only thing left are the strongest ones in the society with the most firm values, but it's too late now. The entire country who was once with them is now against them. And that is the biggest lesson from this whole series. But that's all for today. We continue the next video in just a few days.